Good afternoon, and welcome to the August 14th, 2014 Longview City Council meeting. We appreciate all y'all being here and enjoying this nice unseasonal weather that we're having. But thank y'all for being here. Tonight, our prayer and pledge will be led by the Reverend Diane Castile of St. Mark's Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. Would you please stand?
Let us pray. Eternal God, we know you to be the maker and creator of all things. And so we come on tonight, this evening, with bowed heads and humbled hearts. We come at this particular time just to say thank you for keeping us safe throughout this day. Now, Lord, as we are gathered here in this room, we invite you into this place. And I speak blessings and protection on all that are involved and are here on tonight. I speak blessings and protection on the mayor, the city council members, and every other city official represented here, and every citizen who has come here this evening. It is my prayer that you will guide every thought process, every discussion, and that every decision that is made here, Lord, that you will be guided by you. It is in the name of Jesus that we pray and we ask it all. Amen.
Amen.
Would you please join me in Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor, thanks so much for being here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
How's things going?
Sir,
How's things going?
it's going well.
Good things at church been promoted. Okay. Presiding elder of Greenville, Texarkana District.
Yes, sir.
When is that going to take place?
I've been in that position 4 weeks now.
All
I
right.
supervise
Well, congratulations
36 churches.
to you. I'm sure
Yes.
you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
Thanks a lot. I've enjoyed coming to the services. She can preach now. I'm telling you what.
Well, thank you.
This lady does a great job. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Council, before we start citizen comment, I'd like to take just a minute to make a few comments about a lot of the information surrounding a specific fee for the splash pad that has taken place since our last council meeting. And at the appropriate point in the agenda, I'm going to recommend the council that we pull that item from the budget. Since that meeting, we've learned a lot of things, and some of it which was absolutely not factual. The point about, the city wanting to try to cause people not to use the pad by charging a fee, absolutely incorrect. That was never even a discussion. There was other things. I even heard this afternoon late, Mr. Ricketts was talking. They were told all along that the pad would be for free. There'd never be a fee charged. I was never part of any of those discussions, so I don't know where that came from. I'm told that there's enhancements that want to be made. What enhancements? What is it going to cost? Who's going to pay for it? The Parks Board, and I see Rhonda Bullitt here, and I know Mr. Rice is here and some others, did a great job in making recommendations based on information they had from the city to review and to look at. And we took their recommendation. When we're going to appoint people to boards and commissions and we're not gonna use the advice they give us, I think that's a problem, okay? But not the decision to recommend to pull is not based on what they've recommended. It's based on information now that's come up since we started talking about this. For instance, all of our parks are bundled financially. That's not in my opinion, from a business perspective, not a good way to account for things. It costs money to run parks. We should know, the citizen taxpayer should know each park, what it costs to pay for that park. parks are a service, so it's not a money-making thing, but you still should know. We don't know. Today, everything is in a bundled accounting method, and we're going to ask staff to go and to break that down so we know. But we get bits and pieces of information. Last month, the splash pad cost the city $22,000 in just water. Mr. Ricketts said we're supposed to be reusing that water, reprocessing. That's what they were told. Really? So a lot of misinformation. And I think to be prudent and to make good decisions, we should have all of the financial data to work with. And we don't have that. And so no one's trying to put a hardship on anybody. That was never an intent. There was never the intent to run away the busloads of people that are coming from other cities. Never said that. It's all about the fee was being proposed because that park is being utilized way above, which is great, but it's way above anybody's expectations. And the sheer number of people that are going out there, we have some responsibility, especially when it comes to sanitation, that we should be doing in that park. And the fee structure that was being proposed was largely related to the cleanup and the sanitation of that park. Okay, so we got work to do. And so I know I've got some cards, and I'm not trying to talk you out of talking. But I'm going to recommend to council that we pull that fee out of the budget. We've got more work to do. And again, the Parks Board did what they were asked to do. Rhonda and her group did a great job. But I'm going to ask you to go back and revisit this where we can get more information to you guys. And the discussion about further enhancements, give us an idea what that is. What enhancements are we talking about? What's it going to cost? How do we plan to pay for it? And let's get more information into the public, you know, so that we're not caught blindsided with a bunch of information we don't have. But again, clearly, this was never meant to try to cause people or hardship on people to use that park. And where that came from, God only knows, because that was never any discussion that we had. So at that, I have some speaker cards. Renee Smith. Renee Smith.
Good evening to the mayor and to the council members. I live over here off of Swinging Bridge Road, and I just am in favor of the splash pad. I'm against the fees, as well as a lot of people that I know, but I feel like if you're going to charge one splash pad, charge the other two. Or if you're wanting to charge anyone, charge people that are from out of town. Citizens of Longview, we pay tax money, you know, and that's where we feel like our children deserve somewhere to go. And if you're using that much water, if it's not recycled, then as a city that's calling ourselves recycling, we need to do better on that.
Thank you, ma'am. Amen.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Leah Hickman.
Hi, good evening. This may end up being a moot point if the issue is pulled, but I wanted to come this evening and voice my opinion, not only as a resident of Longview, but also as an active member of the Junior League of Longview. As many of you know, the league donated $50,000 towards the construction of the splash pad, and I remember the meeting several years ago where the proposal for funds and the proposal for the project was brought to us. We considered it that night, along with several other projects that were all worthy and deserving of assistance. It's not every year that we have that much of a lump sum to allocate to a special project like we did that year. So we felt a really big responsibility to allocate that money to a project that would reach the most people and do the most good in our community. And we really felt like the splash pad would reach children of all ages, every age, 1 up to junior high school, and also be available to people in the surrounding areas. Anyway, my concern and worry is that by charging a fee, we may end up very well excluding the people who we had intended to help with the donation of those funds. And so I just wanted to share my opinion on that. Cannot speak for the other members of the organization, but I myself may have chosen to vote for a different project and put those funds elsewhere where the people benefiting from it may not, have had to pay for services or for the use of the facility. So anyway, thank you for your time,
Thank you
for letting
being
me
here.
share my opinion.
Points well taken. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Rhonda Bullard.
Good afternoon. I am Rhonda Bullard, and I'm a former member of the Parks and Recreation Board, but did serve as the lead on the task force that was charged with reviewing the fees impacting the city's general fund. Our charge by staff was to review the fees from the perspective of the user, the taxpayer, the overall programming of the Parks Department, and the protection of our resources. The reasons given for this fee review were there had been no increases for many years, even though the costs have increased to maintain our parks. There has been an increased demand of service, there have been citizen complaints, and an increase in the number of facilities that our city now maintains. We were asked to review the aquatic, player fees, and facility fees. The facility fees for the splash park were one small part of the overall recommendations that you have before you tonight. Under facility fees, staff asked us to consider the possibility of adding pavilion fees, changing the current pavilion reservation process, and to review the citizen complaints that had come in. The concepts that we were asked to consider, generally speaking, pools and water parks are more expensive to maintain. Fees charged will never cover the cost, but should share more of the overall burden to the budget. And Mayor, I agree with you that we need to know a broader scale of what each of those parks cost us to maintain. Certainly, the ones that are more advanced, have more water features, more playground equipment, are going to cost us more to maintain, and they're going to be used a lot more. And so that's going to increase our maintenance cost. It was reported at one of our meetings that it takes our maintenance at least 2 hours every day to clean up the splash park, Jack Mann Splash Park, because of the great number of people that enjoy it every day. Jack Mann Splash Park is the most widely used park, both in terms of days occupied and population served. And the citizen complaints had been around the fact that our taxpayers would present themselves to enjoy the park, and it would be so crowded from out-of-town guests that they were not able to enjoy it. And we don't want our taxpayers, who are already paying tax dollars, not to be able to enjoy our parks. And so that was considered. Some information the general public may not be aware of is that the private funding for the funding for the Jack Mann Splash Park was raised through a volunteer funding committee, comprised of folks that have a love for our city, the families that live here, and wanted to honor a man who gave his life to the city of Longview. I was one of those volunteers. As we called on donors, as the young lady just said on the Junior League, we did assure them of 3 things. We did tell them it would be free. We did tell them that it would be open to the public, and we did tell them that it would serve all of Longview and beyond, therefore encouraging tourism into our city. And so we feel very responsible, those of us who went out and raised the funds, my family's business included. We told our donors that that would be the case. Never did we dream that we would have the amount of visitation to that park, or the cost of the park would get to the degree that it is today. So I'm here to assure the council and the community that no member of the Parks and Recreation Board or that volunteer funding committee ever meant to mislead anyone, not our donors and certainly not our taxpayers. The concerns being voiced by taxpayers in recent weeks were shared by everyone on that task force. We knew what we had told people. Several of us serving on that task force also raised the money, and so we took our responsibility extremely seriously. We were torn between what the public and our donors were told and what the park's budget was requiring. In the end, the reasons we moved forward with the recommendations in front of the council tonight were that the Parks and Recreation budget continually expands with little or no increase to fees to cover the cost to maintain the parks. The city has to address that from some standpoint. Longview should be very proud of the number of parks, quality and maintenance of the parks, and the varied entertainment they provide to our citizens. In order to continue the long-range plan that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board supports and adopted, it was felt that the budget needed to be supported at a greater level by the people actually using the parks and facilities. That included pavilion fees. That is one answer to help fund the overall structure. The fees recommended mirrored those of the cities across Texas that are like in demographics and size to Longview. In the beginning, it was the intention that the Jack Mann Splash Park be funded to the largest degree by private donations. That has not been the case. To date, we are funded at $250,000 in private donations and $1,897,000 from public funds from both LEEDCO and the city. We stated numerous times that if there were other options, we welcome them. But the buck stops with you. You approve the budget. You have the option, which you have, to table part of it, and I applaud you, or you're going to ask for that. I applaud you for doing that. What the council brought before you was a recommendation. As you stated, we did not have all the facts that have recently come out. We do need to look closer at the dollars that are budgeted and what they're budgeted for, and we are happy to see it go back and be reworked. You're not hurting our feelings. We did put a lot of volunteer hours in it, but we, you know, the advisory board, and I think all of them that served with me would agree, the hours we give as volunteers are meant to enhance our city, not hinder it, and certainly not divide us. And we want what's best for all. We want everyone to enjoy our parks, no matter what walk of life, what area of the city they live in. We want everyone to be able to enjoy all of our parks across the city. And I challenge you to come up with that good recommendation.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. You know, like you said, $250,000 was raised by the public, and it's one of the things we run into with these big projects. It's important to have a public-private partnership. But, you know, the taxpayers of Longview, like you just said, have spent, I know in the city it's $1.6 million, and you're saying it's $1.8 million with LEEDCO help as well. So, you know, they have a say as well. And we just have more due diligence that needs to take place before, you know, we move that forward. You want to wait till we come to the budget and talk about this some more? All right, go ahead.
I think most people will be surprised to find out how many parks we have. Isn't it 33? We have 33 parks in the city of Longview. I think most of us are surprised to hear that. And so you can see where the money's going when you have 33 parks to maintain.
Big dollars. Okay, we're going to go to presentation items, but before we do that, we've got a special guest or several special guests here tonight. And if it's okay with council, we're going to go to an action item. Action item 8, to consider resolution accepting a donation of $12,500 from Mr. Ray Shelby for the purchase of one police canine for the Longview Police Department. Chief Dingler. Whoa, whoa. Looks like what kind of dog is that?
Thank you, Mayor, council members,
Big old
Mr. Willard. Today, we're going to let me make a couple of introductions. This is Mr. Ray Shelby. This is Officer Nikki Williams, and this is Bajaris. Bajaris is a 6-year-old Belgian Malinois, and he is our newest canine. He's been around a while. A few months ago, one of our other canines had to retire. He had gotten old enough and been on the job long enough that he had to leave. At that time, we were hunting around our budget to see if we could come up with some money to find a replacement, and it was going to be real tough. So we were contacted by Mr. Shelby. Mr. Shelby describes himself as a dog lover from the word go. He moved to Longview from Mount Pleasant in 1957. He's a Navy veteran and worked construction at various places. And as he said, he never made a lot of money, but what he saved, he could. And now he says he'd like those savings to go to good use. He's donated to other projects in the past, such as the Humane Society Adoption Trailer, and he loves the thought of helping bring another canine to the Longview Police Department. Mayor, as you said, Mr. Shelby is donating $12,500 so that we can buy a new K-9. I want to tell you, Mr. Shelby, that we appreciate it. I have a plaque for you that says, presented to Ray Shelby in recognition and appreciation of your support to the City of Longview Police Department.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby. You're a good man.
Thank you, officer.
How you doing, buddy? He knows his name more. Beautiful. Thanks again, Mr. Shelby. What's that? Okay, council, we do have an action on an item is to vote to accept the donation. May I have a motion? Have a motion? Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Thank you again very much. Now we'll move to the presentation items. Presentation item A, presentation of Steve Burnett, Longview Police Department, 30 years of service. Chief, you're going to be busy tonight. Yes, sir, I am. All right. There's old radar. He did, huh? You had an 18-wheeler pulled up in there.
Steve, you want to step up here? This is Officer Steve Burnett. He's receiving a plaque for his 30 years of service to the city. Officer Burnett joined the police department in 1984. He worked as a patrol officer and until January 1990 when he was transferred to the traffic division on the motor. And he's never gotten off of it. He's ridden it ever since. He became the first officer to apprehend a bank robbery suspect in progress in January the 28th, 1994. He's a certified accident investigator and commercial vehicle enforcement officer. He received his master police officer license in March of 2003, and he's been nominated twice for Officer of the Year. Steve and his wife, Tammy, have 2 children. Thank you, Steve. Terry, I have a plaque of appreciation to you in recognition of 30 years for working for the city. Thank you, Chief. Terry Davis started his employment in 1984 and was assigned to patrol. He worked in various specialized units such as SWAT, Repeat Offender Apprehension Unit, and Criminal Investigations. He is a senior detective in the Crimes Against Person Unit of CID. He's currently also assigned as the Longview PD's assigned to the FBI Violent Crime Task Force. He's married to Linda. Linda, would you stand up? And they have 2 daughters. Thank you, Terry. Thank you. Gary, would you step up? I'd like to introduce Detective Gary Shirley for his for an appreciation of his 25 years of service with the city. Detective Shirley began his career with the police department in 1989. He worked as a patrol officer and then a PAR officer until his transfer to as a detective of the Physical Evidence Services in the Criminal Investigation Division. And you've never come out. You like what you do? Okay.
Just in a different part of it.
Congratulations, Steve. Let me tell you about this guy.
Better be careful. Y'all big.
Mike, we have a certificate of appreciation for 25 years of service. This is Mike Bishop. He's an assistant chief. He's also my right-hand man. He keeps me out of trouble most of the time. Mike is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force, and in 1989, he worked as a patrol officer with the police department. He then went on as a police area representative and then a detective. He was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2001 and was assigned to field operations. He's worked all through the police department. And in 2011, he was promoted to assistant chief. That was the first promotion I did since I became chief, because it was about 10 minutes before that when I became chief. It was the best promotion that I've done. He has a master's in business administration from LeTourneau, and he has also finished the 71st School of Police Supervision. Mike, thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
I want to say thank you to all of the officers. Y'all do a great job, and you know, we are blessed in this city to have officers with the tenure and experience that you guys have. So thank y'all very much. God bless y'all. Consent agenda. Council, is there any item on the consent agenda that council would like to pull for separate consideration? All right, I have a motion to approve. Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. I just want to mention one thing on the zoning. We just passed the contract to proceed with the extension of 4th Street, which is a major project. I've had a number of citizens stop me and asked where that stood. Contract is now issued, so we will be moving forward.
You might mention also, Mayor, that it is a 5-lane, which will make the traffic much easier to turn and enter and exit.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a first-class thoroughfare. Zoning items, public hearing item A, consider application Z1407. Mr. Shirley.
Thank you, Mayor Dean, members of council, Mr. Willard. Requesting a rezone from single-family SF4 to parking designation P to allow for expansion of a parking lot. This is going to be adjacent to Texas Roadhouse on the south side. This is looking at the zoning map. Texas Roadhouse and all of the properties along Loop 281 are zoned heavy commercial. You do have adjacency to single-family residential. The purpose for the parking zoning is to allow for the expansion of a parking lot, but not to allow expansion of the business because of the encroachment into the residential area. The parking designation was approved back in the early 2000s to allow uses like this, where we did need to expand parking lots where we have that mix of residential and commercial next to each other, and it made sense to expand the parking area, but not allow for the expansion of that whole business use. So this is kind of a meet in the middle ground. Looking at the future land use map, this is an allowable expansion of the medium intensity business. There we go. The development that's occurring along the Church Street area, there's some renewed single-family development, and the applicant, East Texas Builders, is the one doing that. What they have found is that this area, the depth of the yards, as you can see, people are not wanting those very large, deep yards, so it made sense for them to cut this off and better utilize it. They are in control of the property directly adjacent. At the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there were several neighbors in this neighborhood that voiced opposition. This area, as you may remember, was zoned commercial, and we rezoned it because of some of the expansion of the hotels near there. But they will be required a 10-foot buffer and wooden privacy fence along the south boundary, and then as well along this eastern boundary. Any kind of overhead lighting will be limited to have no impact on the adjacent residential properties. Planning and Zoning Commission on a 6-to-1 vote recommend approval, as well as staff, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Mr. Shirley? This item requires a public hearing. The public hearing is now open. I have a speaker card. Mr. Mike Austin, were you here to answer questions or? Okay, okay. I do not have any other speaker cards. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this matter? If not, the public hearing is closed. May I have a motion? Have a motion. Second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Thank you, sir. Action item. Let's see, we've done that action item, so we'll move to budget item. Discussion of the proposed 2014-2015 budget for the city of Longview. Mr. Willard.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of things before we get in. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through things, but I wanted to show you, since we met last, we got our certified appraisal in from Harrison County. Remember, we have two counties that the city of Longview encompasses, Harrison County and Gregg County. We had gotten our Gregg County certified values in prior to the last meeting, but the Harrison County values came in after that. So I wanted to update you on that, because it is some good news for us in the budget process. Those values were up from Harrison County, higher than what we had projected. So the overall increase from 2014 is a 2.07% increase in our property value from the previous year. And that made, we showed you the average growth since 2011. So we've had about average over that time 1.5% growth. So it's better news from Harrison County than it was obviously the year before. And the property tax revenue reflects those higher values. So we're expecting $27,761,955 in property tax revenue. Let me show you this and shows you graphically how the new appraisals affected the M&O and the debt rate. The far graph on the left was our current budget year 13 and 14. Of course, our total tax rate this year has been a little over 50 cents. It's broken out at the bottom, 12.09 for debt and 38 cents for M&O. At the budget meeting that we presented last time, without the current value, we were proposing a total rate of 51.06, 13.06 for the debt and 38 for the M&O. And that was due to the lower values. We had to raise the debt rate to service our debt. But with these new proposals, that will be lower. So the total rate will be a little over nearly 51 cents. And the debt rate portion's lowered to 0.1299 from 13.06. So a little bit of savings there on the overall increase due to the higher property value. So this is the summary of that. It's a 0.009 cent increase to the debt portion to service our debt on certificates of obligation and general obligation bonds. The total is reflected at the bottom. So an impact, that increase on a home value of $100,000 without any exemptions would be $9 per year increase to that value of home, as an example. And then these are just reflective of the additional revenue that was received from that property value and the expenditures. And then these are your general fund summaries. And then, of course, we have the large fund balance capital expenditures that we talked about last time. And those total appropriations will total up to $4 million. And then the outcome, if you approve all those appropriations, that which is 11.72% fund balance. Fee change highlights. We've not changed this slide, so I assume if council wants to remove the Jackman splash pad portion out of that, we'll be happy to do that. Still, there's a few other things that are in that. We wanted to get council's feedback on those as well. For the swimming pool, if you just remove the Jackman splash pad, the swimming pool currently is $1 per child and $2 for adults for resident and non-residents. The proposal that came in the last budget was to raise that to $2 a child and $3 for adult, the non-resident from $3 to $4 on the pools. So we need to know what your pleasure is on that portion of it, and we'll remove the Jackman splash pad out of that. And then, of course, on the aquatic annual pass, which includes Ingram Pool, Longview Swim Center, the annual pass was $50 per child, $175 adult, and $100 for the family. And we had talked about putting that in an annual pass on the Jackman, but of course that would be removed out as well. So we'd like your comments and feedback on that portion of it. And also we had presented pavilion rentals. Currently we do not charge for that. Proposed is the structure, and that's pretty well has not changed to my knowledge since we presented it to you at the last meeting. So we'd like your obviously your feedback on pavilion rentals and what you'd like to do there. Okay, on the wastewater rates, we won't spend a lot of time here. We can go back and show you a little bit more, but currently the sample monthly bills for a 5/8 inch meter, these proposed changes would increase the monthly rate by $1.15. The 1 inch meters, which are the newer meters that we install nowadays, would be $1.90 a month increase. Then the 2 inch meter, these proposed changes would increase 2 inch meters by $9 a month. And of course, the O&M debt service ratio, coverage ratio, for these revenue changes would produce a coverage ratio of 1.33, and by law or by our bond covenants, we need to maintain 1.25. So in summary, this would be the total budget that with these other changes that we've talked about tonight. Now, we'll need to, I guess, take out any fees associated will come out of that. The splash pad fee would come out of this total, obviously, when we show it to you the next time. It'll be somewhat less. I don't know exactly how much less. 40,000? 48,000. So the general fund part of it would be less $48,000 on the $68,286,354. So we'll have that, and then any changes you want to make tonight or adjustments, we'll need to reflect that as well at the next meeting. So just for the budget calendar, our next meeting will be August the what? 20th.
Next slide.
Sorry, we didn't have that on. Didn't make it in, but August 20th. And of course you can have another meeting, and if you want to do any other budget discussions or whatever, that's the next planned meeting that we have. So any questions or comments?
Questions, council?
Yes,
ma'am.
That $48,000 we're talking about in terms of the rental fees, splash pad, whatever, is that just for the splash? Well, let me take that back. Does that include pavilions? That's my question.
No. Or does it? No.
Okay. That doesn't include the proposed pavilion rental fee? Okay.
I don't think I'm not recommending that we do anything with the exception of the fee to enter the splash pad.
Right, okay.
Okay, that's the only thing
So what about the pavilions? Is that off the table too, or is that something that's?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
I'm just clarifying. I'm just trying to.
That's good. I mean,
What's that dollar amount? Do we have a dollar amount for that, or a projected dollar amount for revenue for specifically the pavilions if we do that?
Total revenue.
We're estimating approximately $52,000.
Is that all parks, all 33?
It's all the pavilions. Some parks have more than one.
Right.
But it's for the pavilion revenues And remember, residents will only pay reservation fees for the
Okay.
Class A. Residents get all B and C types free.
Right.
So most of the charges are going to non-residents.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Willard, this may be a question for Laura. I was looking over our form here for community and resource centers. Now, I was looking at this Panther Park Community Center. It is $25 per hour, 2-hour minimum. What I got a little bit confused about is I'm on a budget, so it says plus staff salaries. If I was renting the Panther Park Community Center, and then I'm trying to plan a budget for it, how would I go about planning for the staff salary?
You contact our office and we determine who's working
Okay.
to support you, and that varies. The other reason we did that was within the fee resolution, some years y'all gave us raises, but if we didn't have the fee resolution where it was flexible, we couldn't pay the employee. So it was just part of kind of a bookkeeping method also.
So if it averaged out to $15 an hour, 2-hour minimum, it's gonna be $30 for the staff salary, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Unless you don't need the staff.
Then
Then it's 25, right?
Do I have to have staff?
It depends on the facility.
Depends on the facility, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
And it'll be for Laura as well. I have a comment first about the pavilion fees. I think that's very reasonable. I think it's necessary. I think it's been a wonderful asset that the city has been able to provide that service free of charge for so many years. Having something comparable at a private facility in Longview is $200-300. So I think it's very reasonable what we're asking to reserve a pavilion now. And I think I know the answer to this question, but I did want to confirm. The process now for reserving a pavilion includes printing out your own form and bringing it up there and essentially having to, if someone's still there, you have the responsibility really of kind of removing them. Is adding the fee for reserving it going to provide a staff member and a phone number at that pavilion? If I've rented it and I come out and there's someone that won't leave, will there be better access to maybe a staff member or someone that can help me have my rental during the time that I've rented it?
No, you got to fight them.
Is that not included in
Strong
the
survive, been
additional seasonal
Darwinian.
help?
No, ma'am, any revenues are going to help with, once again, cleaning up between reservations. Now, if we have a staff person, say we have multiple rentals, for example, at Kidsview or something, and the staff person's there, they would, of course, assist. But if they're at Spring Hill cleaning the pavilion and the issues at Kidsview, then it could be 30, 45 minutes, before they got there. So we're going to encourage everyone who has the rental, take your form with you, and we have very few confrontations.
Okay.
Lately. We would hope that by going through this process, the scheduling, and posting very good signage,
Yes.
That says what the process is and what you got to pay, that we remove the confrontations that have been experienced in the past.
They have.
So,
They have.
anyway, but we're going to need proper signage to go along, but by scheduling it, it should eliminate quite a bit of that.
One question.
Yes, sir.
I think you answered part of it, but realistically, how are we going to enforce this? Realistically, how are we going to enforce this?
We were able to purchase a new software package this past year that's going to allow online reservations where you can go on yourself, and we've already gotten with the GIS.
Well, what I'm leading up to is, are we going to have a police officer just on patrol checking
sir.
to make sure? How are we going to, I see a few people paying and a whole lot of people not paying, and I'd like to be fair, but I really don't see how you're going to have the signage. People show up and there's nobody around. They see the sign. They say, "Well, we're here. Just go ahead and we'll use it." Is there how?
That's still perfectly fine.
That's okay.
If the pavilion's not in use, anyone can use it
Okay,
free
well,
of
excuse
charge.
me, I didn't understand that. Okay, in other words, if you want to reserve it, you pay the fee.
Correct.
Otherwise, it's open.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay,
Okay,
I
first
didn't,
come, first. Good point.
I misunderstood that. Okay, All right, thank you.
Okay,
All right.
Cassia?
I just wanted to speak to that because I've used several parks. Laura and staff know that all throughout the community. And if there has been an issue, we have an on-call person that will come out. Hopefully, they're not on overtime, but we have an on-call person, and they are very good about coming out quickly. I've never been in a situation where typically our police force, and I'll give them a shout out too, they're very good about when there are certain events going on in our community, regardless of where they are. They just kind of patrol or beef it up a little bit anyway. So we just really, and I just want to say that because I feel like I've been all up to every park. And we just, I mean, the process works when people reserve them. You guys really do a good job of getting somebody out there, even if the water goes out or a pipe breaks. I've experienced all that, so you all do well.
Okay, any other questions? I think we jumped right into B, the discussion of proposed fee resolution. So if there's no more discussion of that, we'll go to C, which is to consider resolution proposing a tax rate for 2014 and scheduling 2 public hearings. Angela Cohen.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Willard.
This item is a preliminary vote on the proposed tax rate and establishes the required public hearings as required by state statute. The proposed rate is 12.99 cents for debt service, 38 cents for operations and maintenance, totaling 50.99 cents. The public hearing dates is August 28th and September 4th, and it'll be held here at the council chambers. Be glad to answer any questions.
Does this require,
Yes.
okay, so I'll need a motion on that resolution. I have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Items of community interest. Hello, Mr. Sims. I'm all right, man. How about you?
I want to say to the senior citizens that this past Monday I had cataract surgery on my right eye, and I go back in 2 weeks for the second. But if you're kind of queasy about this, like I was, go ahead and have it done. It's a piece of cake, easiest thing I've ever been through. Didn't even know, I asked the doctor, I said, when we're going to do this, and he says, it's time for you to go home.
Really?
So, go ahead and get it. I tell you, not having your eyesight is bad. Thank you.
I remember when that surgery first come out, people would say, hey, I'm going to have my Cadillac operated on. Yeah. The cataract. Gary?
Let's see what I got 3 items I want to talk about, Mr. Mayor. The person you see on the screen right now, Mr. Mayor, is Eric Berger. He's the director of the Highway 80 Rescue Mission, located on West Highway 80. This mission has built 7 new homes for mothers and kids, all by donations from the community. These homes are designed for a 6-month stay with educational support to land a job. So if you're a homeless mom and you got kids, talk to Eric Berger out at Highway 80 Mission. The second item I want to talk about was the 14th annual Southside Reunion will take place on August 30th, 31st, and September the 1st at Stamper Park from noon until 8 p.m. Activities for kids and adults, and they got free food also, free food. Hamburgers, hot dogs, and barbecue. And that's going to be happening the last weekend of this month. The third and most important item I want to talk about on my list today, Mr. Mayor, is the 14-15 school season will begin on August 25th. Please slow down. Do not talk. Number 2 is do not talk on your cell phone or start texting on your phone, on your cell phone, because we will have patrol out guarding those school zones the 25th of August. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Ms. Cashin?
I want to thank everybody that came out Tuesday night to the anti-violence town hall sponsored by the Longview Anti-Violence Community Team. I want to give special thanks to Chief Dingler, Officer Deborah Stiles, who's the park officer in my district, Officer Christy Bryan, of course, our own Lieutenant Jackie. They did a great job of just being present, and to the members in our community that served on the panel, and also to additional staff members that showed, it shows your concern for your community. and for your jobs and what you do, and just wanting to be involved and engage with our citizens. And that's why we are elected as elected officials, and then it really feels good to have that staff support as well. So thank you to everyone who came out and participated. Look for more to come.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kristen?
Pass.
Two things.
Ms. Manley?
Congratulations to the 4 police officers. Real proud of what you've done, and just a perfect example of the kind of leadership we've come to expect from a police department. So congratulations to all of y'all. Secondly, it's great to see everyone come out that came out to speak about the issues that you were concerned about tonight, specifically on the fees. It's always great to see our citizens involved, and I would encourage everyone to keep that up and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
We're doing fine.
Welcome.
Okay, good, okay. Is that it? Thank you. Okay, Longview Swim Center will be closed for the remainder of the season following mechanical failures in the pool's pump room. I don't need to read any more of this stuff. It's closed. Don't go back over there this year. All right, the Longview Police Department is accepting applications for this year's Citizen Police Academy. The Citizen Police Academy will begin on Thursday, September 11th, and end on Thursday, October 23rd, 2014. Hours of the academy will be from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Contact Assistant Chief Mike Bishop, who's been here for 25 years, at 903-237-1149 for more information. City of Longview Green Street Recreation Center will host the 34th Annual Senior Citizen Extravaganza on Saturday, August 16, 2014. The theme of this year's event is patriotic. The event will take place at the Longview Exhibit Building, 1123 J.C. Drive. It is open to the public and is expected to attract 100 or hundreds of East Texans. Doors open at 4 p.m., a meal will be served at 5, and the program will follow the meal. Advance tickets may be purchased for $8 from 9:30 to 5 p.m. on Friday or on the day of the event for $10 at the door. For more info, call the Green Street Recreation Center, 903-237-1279. And I want to also, send our condolences to the family of W.D. Northcutt III, who passed away. Dr. Northcutt, as most of you know, he was actually on this city council and served the city in various and in numerous ways. So our condolences go out to the family, pioneering family of the city of Longview, actually. And also this afternoon, we received word that the Reverend Herb Spady passed away unexpectedly. I think the services are still pending as to when that'll take place. But, Reverend Spady, I told the reporter that called me about it, I said, hey, when I ran for mayor, he supported my opponent. But that was okay. He and I got to work on several different things after that time, and I know his commitment to the youth of the community and how he served the youth was very, very courageous on his part. And both of these gentlemen will be hard to replace in this community, so our condolences go out to both families for their loss. At this time, we're going to go to executive session personnel matters under Texas Government Code 551.074 to consider and discuss candidates and selection processes for Director of Development Services, and B, consultation with City Attorney under Texas Government Code Section 551.071. Receive legal advice from the city's attorneys concerning legal issues regarding the development of a water contract with the city of Kilgore and the relinquishment of extraterritorial jurisdiction. We may return for action. Council is adjourned to executive session. Ms. Allen, we have a motion.
Yes, sir. I move to confirm Michael Shirley as the Director of Development Services.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Mr. Shirley, congratulations. We want to tell you that we're excited about what's taken place thus far, but there's a lot left to do. and we want you to wake up every morning with a firecracker in your hand. All right? All right, buddy. Good job. Thank you. Council is adjourned.